without further ado, I will be I will be beginning my presentation. So just some background on me. I am a US born, but I do have roots that are connected to other countries. So my family is from an island called St. Lucia, and that's the flag up here on the top left. You all know the US flag is on the top right. I also have ties to another island called Guyana, and my mom was actually born on the island of Curacao. So it's a very, diverse mix, if you will. And so this little arrow pointing here, that's actually me when I was very young with my grandma, dressed in our cultural madras, is what we call it. And so, I still keep my culture very near and dear to my my practices. And so I like showing this slide because I know that a lot of us are very deeply rooted in our own, cultures. And I think it's a myth that you need to sort of separate from your culture in order to practice, your career or to be someone in STEM. So someone who pursues a career in STEM does not necessarily need to look like a particular thing or person, or does not necessarily need to practice a specific, I believe religion or anything like that. So I like sharing this because all are welcome in STEM is essentially what I'm trying to say with this slide, myself included. It did take me a while to sort of get comfortable being a STEM professional, knowing that I came from a sort of non-traditional STEM background, but I thoroughly believe, and I like to share with folks that I believe truly that everyone belongs, can find a place in STEM. So here's a quick summary or an overview of my story. I did the undergraduate, I got an undergraduate degree in chemistry. So I was a chemistry major. And I'll talk a little bit about why I became a chemistry major. A lot of people who are pre-med, they tend to go the pre-med route. And I believe some colleges and universities offer a pre-med major. But I decided to go with chemistry. I did multiple summer internships. And so lots of schools offer these opportunities, especially to students in STEM, so that they can get experience in, let's say, a research lab. A lot of times the research labs are looking for students to volunteer. Some of them have funding, and so they can pay you to work in the lab for the summer. I was fortunate to get both sides. So I volunteered in some labs for some summers, and I got paid in some labs for some summers. Got to do a lot of really cool research to see what it felt like to be a scientist, honestly. And also summer internships where you can shadow physicians. So I actually did one summer shadowing a pediatrician because at the time I wanted to be a medical doctor. And again, I mentioned to you at the beginning that I am a PhD chemist. So I did not go the route of medicine, but I'll explain to you a little bit later. I ended up going to graduate school. So I got a PhD in analytical chemistry. Then after that, after graduating, I did a postdoc at an agency, a government agency here in the US called the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And then I went into science policy. So I became a federal investigator, and I still work in that field I got a certification in industrial hygiene. So industrial hygiene is basically the science of anticipating, controlling, preventing health hazards in the workplace. So it's an occupational sort of safety and health field. And so in that field, you're able to um, work in a space where you try to ensure that people who work in that space go home safely to their families every day. I also simultaneously work as an adjunct professor. So not only did I become a chemistry major when I was an undergrad, I actually loved it so much that I decided that I was going to work as a chemistry professor, although not full time, but as an adjunct, which is sort of a part time chemistry professor, so that I can help other students fall in love with chemistry too. So that's kind of really one of my biggest goals in being an adjunct professor. I do love chemistry, so I always want to be connected to the field, but I also want to give back to students. And so this slide I like to share. It says sometimes we go into, STEM, or if not STEM, just into college. So thinking to yourselves, can I do this? College sounds so scary because you hear about all these maybe horror stories, or there are all these things you have to do. All the, the academic level is a lot higher than what you probably encountered in secondary school or high school. And so you go in with so many doubts. And so it's not unnatural for you to have these feelings. Um, so here's what I thought going in. This is what I thought I would be doing when I entered college. I thought that I was going to be a pre-med major. I thought that I was going to go to medical school, and I thought that I was going to become a pediatrician. I always have loved kids, and sometimes we choose our discipline, um, our concentration in sort of medicine based on maybe something that we can identify with in our upbringing. So some people end up going into like oncology because they had a family member who maybe passed away from cancer. Some people may want to go into anesthesiology for a different reason, and so on and so forth. I've always loved kids. I thought for sure I want to be a pediatrician. I want to work with cute babies all day long. Obviously, being a pediatrician extends beyond working with cute babies, but that was my thought process anyway. And so here's what actually happens. So sometimes you go in with a plan, you think you have it all figured out, and you start the process and you realize there needs to be a change. This is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. Or, something else happens along the way that really just kind of takes you off course, and you need to replan, re-strategize. And so what actually happened when I started is I started taking some chemistry classes, and I realized, wow, this is amazing. I really love understanding how molecules work, how atoms work. They're their own like village, if you must. And so I fell in love with chemistry. And I think one of the reasons that I did end up falling in love with chemistry is because I'm just going to ask if everyone can mute their microphone so everyone can hear me. One of the reasons I did fall in love with chemistry is because I had an amazing chemistry professor, and I brag about him all the time. He was really awesome. He always made things seem so simple. Sometimes we go into chemistry or even organic chemistry classes thinking, Orgo, I'm never going to pass this. How am I ever going to get into med school if I can't pass Orgo? I have heard lots of students say that. And I don't think Orgo is hard, actually. I'm not saying this because I'm an organic chemistry professor. I really think that it all comes down to your perspective. So anyway, I became a chemistry major, and I realized after talking to a pre-med counselor at my college that you can actually be a major in just about any of the sciences and still go to medical school as long as you meet the requirements for whatever the prerequisites are for that program. And so I did meet the prerequisites, and so I didn't have to declare myself a pre-med major. I could just be simply a chemistry major. At the end, or close to the end of me graduating from college, it was time to, start putting together the application, the MCAT, all of that stuff. And I did my final summer internship where I shadowed a pediatrician. And it was not until I did that that I realized this is not for me. This profession is actually not for me. In fact, I don't think medicine is for me at all. And I'm not saying this to discourage you from your journey of medicine. I think if you would love to go into medicine, I absolutely support it. I've had several of my students graduate from some of the top medical colleges and universities, and I'm extremely proud of them. So I encourage you to do it. Just understand, I think going through the process, why you're doing it and who you're doing it for might be very influential or a deciding factor in making that final decision. So medical school is not a walk in the park, and that's not the reason I didn't go. I didn't go because it was based on my experience shadowing the physician. I discovered for myself that I was a germaphobe. I'm an extreme germaphobe, and I didn't realize that about myself. And so, having to deal with patients having all kinds of ailments that I was not familiar with, walking into a room and seeing things, I think I was scarred. And I mean, I was an adult, I was a high school student, 18 years of age or something along those lines, or close to that. So, it wasn't as if it was inappropriate for me to be there. It's just I never anticipated. In my mind, I thought, cute babies, I'm going to do this. So I say all that to say it might actually be very beneficial to you if there is an opportunity for you to shadow someone in the profession that you're looking to enter into. I say jump on it. Reach out to someone. If you know that someone is doing like someone in the dermatology field and you've always wanted to be a dermatologist, reach out. Even if they don't have like an internship or a shadowing opportunity, they may be able to give you some really good insight on hey, watch this video, read this book, read these articles, stay up to date on the current findings. They'll give you a lot of information. You'll be surprised. Don't ever be scared to just reach out to folks to just get more information because it'll benefit you. So anyway, I was at a point where I needed to make a decision and I needed to make one fast. I decided I'm not applying to medical school, but what was I going to do with the rest of my life? I hadn't really thought past medical school at that point. So I spoke with that same chemistry professor that I told you guys that I really absolutely loved. And he said to me, well, at that time, I had already started doing sort of like undergraduate research in his lab. So some undergraduates get opportunities to do research in a lab. And I was doing some research, and it was not anything too serious. It probably was like 2 days a week or something like that. Um, and so I sat in his office, and I remember almost having a breakdown and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life when I leave college. And he said, why don't you just apply to grad school to stay here and we can develop a project for you where you can write your thesis around that project. And so that's what ended up happening. So I think in a matter of 24 hours, I filled out a graduate school application for the same institution that I was already in. And I submitted it, and he provided me the recommendation letters and all of that stuff. And I think like 24 to 48 hours, I found out that I was accepted. So I stayed in that graduate program. It was probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. It was the gift that kept on giving. I was able to produce a wonderful thesis. I was able to embark on an opportunity to collaborate with a lab in France. And again, I'm based in the US, so I was able to travel there with some of my samples that I was synthesizing to have them analyzed by really high tech, advanced technology that they were using in that lab in France. So it was a really great opportunity, things that I did not envision happening, doors started opening that I did not envision. So sometimes when your gut is telling you to do something because you have a really strong feeling that this is what you're passionate about, you'll see that everything else falls in line and things start happening for you. So I say follow your passion if you can. So anyway, long story short, I became a PhD chemist. I got my PhD after staying in that graduate program. Um, and so even at many times there were like, thoughts of doubt and, I would get discouraged. I would take classes like, I remember taking PChem. And I thought, oh, this is definitely not for me. Like, I can't be a chemist. There's no way I'm getting past this thermodynamics and, all of these things. And so there are times where you start to feel discouraged, but just keep in the back of your mind, the finish line is just ahead, just like light at the end of the tunnel vision. Whatever you need to do to motivate yourself to just stick to it. You're not the first one to do it. Remember that. Okay. You're not going to be the last either. So you will get there. You just need to continue to push yourself. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but with all great challenges come great rewards. I think that's a famous quote by someone, I don't know. So could things have turned out differently? Of course. But I think everything happens for a reason and in its time. I'm a firm believer in that. So although I could have probably gone to medical school, I could have probably done well in medical school because I am a hard worker. I like reading, studying, keeping up with my work, all of that stuff. And I think a lot of you here probably have all of these great qualities. I might have been miserable as a medical doctor in that profession, knowing what I discovered about myself during that internship. So be honest with yourself. There was a lot of pressure. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of pressure that was coming from my family to be a medical doctor, as some of you might be familiar with that type of feeling, coming from your family. You may come from a family of physicians who want to push you in that field, or you may come from a family where you would be the first physician and it would be a very proud moment for them. Not telling you what to do either way. It's going to be your decision, but just understand that you're going to be making a conscious decision at that time that will potentially affect the rest of your life. So keep that in the back of your mind and understand that even if you don't make the decision to do one thing, something else will happen and you will be successful. So the STEM field is it's multidisciplinary. So being well-rounded in general makes for a better, candidate for anything that you choose to pursue, even if it's not medical school, as you see that I did not pursue. So having been a chemistry major, taken all the prerequisites for medical school, you get to do so many different things. You get to build all of these skills, transferable skills that you can apply to almost any field and discipline. And so it was very beneficial for me to just be in STEM and to be a STEM student and a STEM major. So again, if you're at a point even where you're not even sure what it is that you want to do, but you know that you do have a liking to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, anything in that realm, I would say get all the, courses that you can under your belt so that you become a better candidate for whatever like graduate program you apply to, or, career that you decide you may want to, get into later on. So like I said, it was the gift that kept on giving. I was able to, after getting my PhD and working in, different on research projects with different labs, I got to publish multiple articles. And so something I didn't really foresee happening, honestly. But it just kind of goes to show that hard work does pay off. And so here are some of, like, it sort of looks like a Mod Podge here, but you see that some of the articles that I was able to publish on, some of which I was first authors on. I worked on things, as cool as organic and inorganic phosphorus hydroxyapatites. That was actually part of my thesis. That's all the way on the top left. I've worked on nanoparticles, so zinc nanoparticles, for odorants. I've worked on, the list goes on. Tobacco, standard reference materials. There are lots of different things that I had the opportunity to work on, just having a background in analytical chemistry. So an analytical chemist, and I did not take time to explain that earlier, but an analytical chemist is someone who uses, without using the word again, these sorts of tools and techniques to understand, to characterize materials that you synthesize otherwise in a chemistry lab. So I became familiar and almost sort of proficient in a lot of these techniques that I was using, but I was simultaneously synthesizing my own compounds so that I could use these analytical methods to analyze them. So that's what I did for most of my graduate career and even in the postdoc. Um, Also, while I was in graduate school, I said it's the gift that kept on giving. I got a chance, like I said earlier, to go to France. So, of course, on the weekends, you're not in the lab most of the time, right? So you get to explore the city. And so, one of the things I like to tell my students is even while you're focused on your academics, always make time for yourself. Take some downtime, do something that you actually enjoy, something that you can create memories from, something that helps you to sort of recharge so that you can get back in there, get back in the lab, get back in your books and study. Because if you just do books, 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 you will burn out. And that's not going to make for a good physician or whatever professional, career that you decide to pursue. So we got to, I say we because I actually ended up having my mom visit me for like just a weekend. She came to France and we did like the whole tour, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, you name it, we were there. We just had a map of the city and we jumped on every metro that we could just to try to see, because it was kind of a once in a lifetime experience for me, because me being in France was actually fully funded by the research that I was doing in that lab. So that was another really great thing. So it was a really phenomenal experience. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated about being a STEM major. A lot of the travels that I did, like going to conferences to present my research, speaking at different conferences, oftentimes there's a grant that is funded, that can fund that trip. And so here on the right, you see I am in Italy, and that was a trip that I took while I was a postdoc. So I had already gotten my PhD, was working in a lab, working on some nanoparticle research at the time. And I saw that there was a conference in Italy for nanoparticle researchers. And so I reached out to my supervisor at the time and I asked, hey, can I submit an abstract for this? Do we have the money? And it turns out we had the money because I hadn't taken any trips that year. I hadn't done any travel. So yes, they approved my travel and I went by myself this time and I was able to go there. And of course, this was after I think we had meetings up until probably 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So by 4:30, I was on a tour bus touring the city, discovering new places. And again, something that I encourage people to do. I made a lot of really cool, friends that some of whom I still keep in touch with from both experiences. So it was a really great opportunity, and experience. And it was something that I did not anticipate happening, going that route of, pursuing a graduate degree. some of the other things I like to do. So I don't just do science. I play sports. I love sports. So I played volleyball all throughout college, even while being a STEM major. And so here you see some of the photos here up here. After I graduated from college, I still love the sport. So I ended up joining a club team. So this is the picture you see with the everyone wearing the long sleeve blue and red jersey. And then right next to that, I actually ended up coaching a volleyball team at some point after I graduated. So I actually got to play at the national championships in 2012. So lots of cool things that I got to do. So you can still have a life outside of STEM. So, although STEM seems to be very rigorous and it requires and it demands a lot, I do highly encourage that you pursue something that you're passionate about so that it helps to alleviate some of the tension and the stress that comes along with such rigor. And I see lots of hands going up. So I see you guys, I'm not ignoring you, but Ahmad and I probably would be best for we get to the end of the presentation. Hold on to your questions because I would love to get to them. We're, I think, about more than around 2/3 of the way in the presentation. So we're getting to the end. So just so you don't forget it, maybe you want to write down your question, and I would hope to get to you as soon as I get to the end. And so what did I do after I got my PhD? I ended up doing a postdoc, like I said, and I worked in a federal lab. So this federal lab in the US is called the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and it's with the US Department of Commerce. So I worked as an analytical chemistry postdoc here for a number of years. And I went ahead of myself. After I did that for some time, I transitioned into a more permanent federal position, which was a federal investigator, as I mentioned earlier. And so I had no idea really what I was going into. And so what I thought a federal investigator is sort of what you see here in this picture and what we typically see on TV, where you see these guys come in with, all this armor and maybe like a badge on them and they say freeze FBI. And that's what I thought I was going into. Honestly, I really had no idea. This is actually what I looked like when I started working there. So I was not that sort of FBI type agent walking in, breaking down doors and flashing my badge. I actually was an industrial hygienist. And I mentioned to you earlier what we do. We basically do inspections and make sure that workplaces are free of hazards to workers. So in doing these types of inspections, you yourself as an inspector need to make sure you protect yourself. So here you see me dressed in some PPE. I'm wearing like some like I believe it's a gown. It's not quite Tyvek, but I have my safety glasses on. I probably had some earplugs in my ears, and I had some shoe covers on. So protecting myself while I do my job. So it was kind of like a haha moment for me, not what I thought it was going to be, but again, something that I was openly willing to accept. And instead of having, like these FBI agents maybe having guns and things like that, these were my tools. So I had things like dosimeters. So these are things that measure noise levels in the field. I had my camera, my handy dandy camera. So I took lots of pictures of things that I saw when I was on my investigations. I had things to measure, like measuring tape, you name it. I had lots of these kinds of instruments. And so I like to show this picture too, because me moving into a field of federal investigation, it was not that dissimilar from me being an analytical chemist. So remember I said I got a PhD in analytical chemistry, and so getting that PhD allowed me to use a lot of techniques and instruments to analyze my compounds, right? My chemicals that I was synthesizing. And so transitioning into this field of industrial hygiene, it was almost parallel. I was still using instruments and tools, but it was to collect samples in the field, which were then later analyzed by a lab that we sent them to. So we have our own federal lab that analyzes. So there was some similarity. So I still felt like I was in the right space for, the degree that I earned. And it felt good because I was helping people sort of in real time. So In addition to being an industrial hygienist, I wear many different hats in STEM, and that's part of why I encourage people to continue to pursue things outside of STEM, even while you're in school for STEM. So I mentioned to you guys that I'm an investigator. Here's another picture of me going on a different type of a job inspection. So I have to adjust my PPE, or PPE stands for personal protective equipment. So I adjust my PPE based on the hazards that I may be exposed to while doing my inspection. So here's another picture of me. But I also mentioned to you guys I work as an adjunct chemistry professor, so I teach on the off time, so usually in the evenings and maybe on weekends, depending on the semester. Um, I work as a sort of a policy scientist. So even while, right now I don't currently do investigation. So I've actually transitioned over to doing more policy writing. So a lot of the policies that we would actually enforce, um, I help to, write guidance for them and interpret them. So that's what I currently do. But I did spend a number of years in the field as an investigator. Um, I did work as a research chemist. I told you guys that I did a lot of lab work while I was at the federal lab. And so currently, I also work as a youth STEM advocate. And so what that means is I do a lot of outreach in the community. So as a scientist, I like to inspire and encourage youth to pursue STEM. Careers, which is kind of what I'm doing now, speaking to you all. And so I do it from at all age levels. And so this was an experiment that I did with I believe they may have been elementary school students. So they were like, age ranges from like 5 to maybe like 11 or 12, where we showed them a density rainbow is what it's called. So these are just different liquids in that jar that are colored with food coloring, and they have different densities. So they can actually sit on top of each other. And it's a really cool experiment if you want to teach density to students, because it's very colorful. I always get a question from people, and maybe this is going to answer some of the hands that are raised about how I go about getting a federal job. So there are some, criteria for obtaining or pursuing a federal job, but one of the best places to get information and to start is usajobs.gov. On that website, you can not only put in a keyword for like a job title or department, agency, or type of occupation that you're looking for. You can also narrow it down by the city, state, zip code, or country, because there are some international, I believe, duty stations for these jobs. So that's a really good place to start. I think what I ended up doing is I just typed like chemistry or science, and I wanted to see really what was available. It shows you all the different agencies, both government agencies, military bases, things like that have civilian jobs, and so you can find a lot on there. You can also create mailing lists. So if you look up a keyword and a particular location, and you hit search, it gives you the option to save that search, and then also so that the search can email you maybe weekly if there are new postings that fit that criteria. So that's a really nice tool that I always recommend that folks should use. So I'm pivoting a little. I'm getting to the end. So I told you guys I like to do outreach to youth. So I eventually wrote a book called Building My Self-Esteem in Science. And so it actually was a book that was a play on the word self-esteem. So we see here that traditionally self-esteem is spelled this way, right? SELF hyphen ESTEEM, but I ended up changing STEAM and I turned it into STEAM, which is an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. And I ended up writing a book called Building My Self-Esteem in Science. And let's see if I can fast forward here. So you see that it was a children's book. And this was the first book that I wrote. Oops, let's go back. This was the first book that I wrote. It was a storybook that talks about friends who help inspire one of their friends to sort of navigate STEM while she's in high school. And it's a really fun, exciting, inspiring story. And so when that book came out, it actually did pretty well. Lots of people liked it, but they also wanted to have something more hands-on. So I decided to write an activity book, which is basically a bunch of, things like puzzles and brain teasers all based in science that complements the storybook. So I like sharing that with you because in addition to wearing all these other hats that I showed you guys on a previous slide, I'm also an author. So it was a really nice accomplishment for me because it was something that I was very passionate about. I really feel passionate about giving back to youth, giving back to students, and it was an opportunity for me to do that in this book. Here's a picture I like to share. Not only am I inspiring and trying to encourage other people or other people's kids, I actually do it for my own kids. So this is my son. And so he sees me doing lots of outreach, wearing my lab coat, my goggles, and he always asks me for his. So in this photo, I actually bought him his own, and he was so excited to be a little scientist like his mom. And it was really like a full circle moment for me to be able to do that for my own child. So it's something that you can think about too. Maybe some of you are too young to think about this at this moment, but think about your legacy. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What mark do you want to leave in this world? And that can actually help you to sort of fine tune your path. We ended up starting this series called Mommy and Me Do STEAM, where him and I create little videos, and I have a whole social media page where I share lots of those with other people wanting to just maybe find some DIY home activities they can do with their kids in science and in STEAM. So that's really all I wanted to share today. I think I am probably still within time, but hopefully there's enough time for lots of questions. But this is, I believe, my very last slide. I wanted you guys to take a moment, and I will get to the questions, to leave me a review, which is the left QR code. And if you want to stay in touch with me, you can follow me on social media, of course. But you can also join my mailing list. Sometimes there are opportunities that come my way where people reach out to me saying, hey, do you have any students who want to do X, Y, and Z. Perhaps it's a scholarship opportunity or something. And then I'll just send it to the email list, the mailing list. So if you are interested in either of those, please feel free to, take a screenshot or a picture with your phone. I think that's how these typically work. If not, you're more than welcome to touch base with me or reach out to me through email or on social media. I'm on most of the major platforms, Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all of those things. So here's another contact me slide. So I have reached the end of the presentation. I am more than happy to take any questions that you guys might have at this time. I'm going to turn it back over to Ahmad, and
Yeah.
maybe he will be
Mhm.
coordinating. I'm
So,
not sure the order in which the questions are coming, but
mhm. So we'll take some questions through. I'll take some questions that come through the chat, and then I'll get to the hand. So the first is, how do you ask, and what are the contents that make up a successful recommendation letter?
that's a
You know,
really good question. How do you ask? So um, when you think about asking for a recommendation letter, I recommend not waiting until you get to the point in which you actually need the recommendation letter written, but you start to make the connections way ahead. So that's like the beginning of the semester, right? So if you're taking a class where um, you know that either this class is instrumental in you getting into your program, so it might be like one of the high level chemistry courses or physics or whatever, biology. I recommend being on top of your coursework, trying to study as much as you can, going to your professor's office hours, because you already know that this is probably the professor who will be writing your recommendation letter. You're building a rapport. And so if that professor is familiar with you coming to the office, maybe sending emails to follow up on things, asking questions during class, they're already building sort of like a track record for you in their mind. So you getting to the point, maybe like, I would say, I'm not sure exactly, different programs, they vary. So maybe like midway through the semester or close to the end, you want to get on the professor's radar with maybe an email or a quick, visit to their office saying, hey, professor, I'm, putting together my application for such and such a program. I would love if you would be write one of my recommendation letters. I can send you the information. Typically, a lot of these programs, they have some sort of like a portal where you can enter your professor or your recommender's information, and it will send them an automated message and a secure link where they can upload the recommendation letter that way. I know a lot of those programs have moved to that. Some of them may still be old school where you have to actually get the professor to write the letter and then kind of send the letter externally. But I would say start thinking about that before you even, at the very beginning of the semester. But in terms of reaching out, it may depend on your program, but I would say maybe even as early as midway through the semester, semester, because at that point you would have taken a couple of exams. Your professor would have some idea of how you're doing, what you're like, what they can say about you in that letter. So hopefully that helps you in understanding. There was a second part to the question. I may have missed it, but when can you ask, oh, what makes a good recommendation letter? I
Yeah.
think that was the second one. Um, a good recommendation letter is a professor who can actually vouch for you and speak to some of the unique things that you bring to, let's say, the discipline or their classroom. So you can kind of, and I've been on the side of both writing recommendation letters and also reviewing applications, and some things stand out to me more than others. You can kind of almost always tell if there's a recommendation letter from someone that seems pretty generic, where they maybe just changed the name and a couple of things in there. And then you can tell if there's a recommendation letter where they speak to unique qualities that you possess that actually make you stand out above the other students, or maybe make you, um, an excellent candidate for this specific discipline. And professors who have really good things to say about you, they will not hesitate to go into detail. So it's just kind of like, that's something that you should look for if you have an opportunity. I don't know that students always get to see the recommendation letters beforehand, but if you do get an opportunity even to provide input, I would say do so. So some students who've asked me for recommendation letters, even though the automated system has sent it to me and they're aware that I got it, they'll send me an email separately with a copy of their resume. And so some of the things that I don't necessarily get to learn about them through the course of the semester, I can do a quick read of their resume and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I remember, such and such telling me that they used to work at a veterinary clinic. And so on the resume, I saw that they did blah, blah, blah. And I don't speak to knowing or being witness to that, but it helps me to sort of like craft the language that I want to write around that, their interest in that. So it might help if you can provide them maybe with supplemental information about yourself so that they're not guessing about what to put in that recommendation letter. Hopefully that helps.
Amazing. I love that. That's a great pointers on recommendation letters. I think a lot of us sometimes wait until the last minute to think about those, and we should be thinking about them at the beginning of the semester. So great. The next question is, how did you know chemistry was for you?
I didn't know before I started it. So just give it a shot. It may seem challenging in the beginning. What I like to say is don't listen to the naysayers. So people will try to discourage you, but it's based on their own experiences. And it's not until you actually try it out for yourself that you can actually discover your true gifts and your true talent. So I didn't know going in. In fact, just kind of fast forwarding, even now when I tell people I'm a chemist, they question me like, why? Or really? What do you do? And it's almost like there's a disconnect. They don't understand even why I did that or how I did it. But I found chemistry to be for me when I realized that it wasn't something that I could just kind of skate through or cram for the night before an exam. It's something that you really truly have to be passionate about, in that you make the time, you make the schedule, you create your flashcards, or whatever it is you need to study, because I like to say this to my students too at the beginning of the semester, that it's like a language that you're learning, a whole new language. So it doesn't compare to a lot of the other sciences, because you really have to understand what is like a nucleophilic attack. What does that mean? That's like language we don't use in every day. So as you start to continue to understand the way chemistry works, the way molecules work, it's sort of like logic. It's like a puzzle that you're putting together, and I've always loved doing things like that. And so that's when I realized, and it also integrates some math, and I love math. I didn't necessarily want to be a mathematician, but I knew I liked math. I knew I liked sort of this puzzle, putting puzzle pieces together. And chemistry sort of gave me an opportunity to do both of those things. And I think that's when I realized that it was for me. And of course, I started to see that reflecting in my exams. I started like acing exams. And so that was a really nice sort of like reassuring moment for me, where I was like, okay, I'm doing well. I think this is where I'm going to stay.
Perfect. Great answer. I'll take questions from the hands in just a second. I think there's one more question I'll take from chat. How did you get into chemistry research? As I'm interested in it, and this how did you get into chemistry research and your journey through that?
Chemistry research. Let's see. So I mentioned to you guys that I really liked chemistry in my graduate school. I'm sorry, in the undergrad. And so I ended up going to that professor's office hours a lot because I had lots of questions. I wanted to get, clarification. I wanted to understand. There were lots of like workshops that professor provided to us as students, which is an opportunity to like problem solve. So he would give us problems to solve, and in attending, I think one of his office hours, we started talking about chemistry, and I was like, well, professor, what do you do? Do you only teach my class? What else do you do? And he started to let me know, no, I actually run a full lab. I have graduate students, I have postdocs, and so we started talking about his research. And I said, do you take undergrads? And I mean, can we learn how to do that research? And he basically welcomed me with open arms. So it really just took one conversation to start having, the sort of the thought propagate. So if you're interested in doing, research in a chemistry lab, you're in a university or college right now, just reach out to someone within your department, maybe ask the department chair, who probably has a better overview of all the research that's going on in their department. But if there's one professor you're probably gravitating towards, I would say pick their brain, ask them about it. If there are no opportunities within your own institution, ask about external opportunities. There are some small startup biotech companies. There are probably some research hospitals. There are lots of different types of institutions and facilities that offer opportunities. Some of them paid, some of them summer opportunities. It may just be as simple as filling out an application and getting someone to write your recommendation letter. And that also is good practice for graduate school and medical school, right? Filling out these applications, writing a personal statement. These are things that you'll have to do later on when you graduate anyway, so you might as well start making those connections. Another benefit to doing like sort of research early on, as early as you can, is because it creates another opportunity for someone to write you a recommendation letter. Outside of just your professors and your teachers, you have this now new person potentially who can vouch for you and speak to your work ethic and your excellence and all that stuff. So it's another beneficial opportunity for you.
Great. I'll take a hand. Ayat.
Hi. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. I actually really liked your story. You reminded me that your plans are destroyed is not the end of the world. I, you actually need to be happy because there are better plans that are waiting for you. So I wanted to ask you a question: do you know any like internships for international high school student in the field of medicine? And do I need to publish a research related to STEM before going to college?
Two very good questions. So international internships for students wanting to go to medical school, that's a first, and I don't think anyone's asked me that before. I would probably have to do some digging. What I would say is, let's see, let me go back here. If you can join my mailing list, and I'm not forcing you to do this, but if you want to, if I find these kinds of opportunities, and I'll write this down based on this presentation that I'm making today, that was one of the interests. I'll see if I can put together maybe a resource list for international students pursuing medical school, and I can definitely mail it out, send an email blast out to you guys. Um, do you need to publish before going to medical school? I don't believe it's a requirement, although I'm going to admit I'm not entirely familiar with the medical school application, the current requirements of medical school. Those could have changed, but I don't think it harms you to do so. When you think about applying to medical school, graduate school, veterinary school, whatever you want to do for your post-secondary education, you have to always think about what sets you apart from other people competing for that same spot. These spots are limited, right? So what can set you apart? You may have all the same grades because no one's really applying to medical school, I think, with F's, right? I would imagine. So maybe all of you have 4.0 GPAs. Maybe all of you, you have all the prerequisites and blah, blah, blah. But what else is going to make you the better candidate? So if an opportunity to publish is something that you can get, I would say go for it. I don't know, and I don't want to say that it's necessary and it will not get you in if you don't have one, because if you don't get into this medical school, much like you just said when you began speaking, if that opportunity doesn't work out, guess what? There's going to be another medical school that does want you. So don't get discouraged if you don't have it. Don't stress yourself out if you don't have it. It's not the end of the world. But if you do get an opportunity to do it or to pursue it or to even ask a question about how you can get it done, I would say do it. That usually comes from, though, a publication typically comes from work that you've actually done. So if you have an opportunity to do research in a lab, maybe start talking to the professor or the PI, the principal investigator, about the research you're doing, and to see like, hey, do you think this has any potential to be published? If so, what kind of journal? And there are different types of journals. There are smaller journals where you don't have to publish too much like sort of like in-depth research. It might just be a review article, right, where you look at all of the things in that field and you write an article reviewing those articles. So that's a publication. You may have a very high level journal, or I'm sorry, high impact journal publication, where you may be like the first or second author. Usually you have the professor as the first author in those types of journals. You could be the second or the third if there's like a graduate student in that lab. So it really depends. There's lots of room for flexibility. It's no like one size fits all. So I would say ask the questions, ask the important questions, look for opportunities, start to build your toolbox, because that's what's really going to be important at the end. Don't wait until the end when it's time to apply for med school to realize, oh, I need to make sure I have this and this and this. From day one, start putting together things in your toolbox, start writing things down, thinking about your accomplishments, thinking about your personal statement. What is it that you're going to say about yourself and your experience that's going to really stand out to the reviewers of your application? So that's just my piece of advice for you.
I love that.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
The next question, I'll take a hand as well. Zukara, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Let me know if I am. But
Hi. So it was a really incredible interview. And my question is, now research projects are valuing commissions, and in a year or 2 years, will it be active?
So can you repeat the first part of the question? You said research projects are now doing what?
Yeah, research projects are valuing commissions, and in a year or 2 years, will it be active?
I'm not entirely sure if it will be, but that's something that you could potentially stay on top of. I'm not 100% sure. It's a good question, though. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
The next question we'll take from Hannah Hamdi.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
My question is, how did you start your research, and what if I want to join you in your next research remotely? I would like this opportunity. Do you offer this opportunity? Because here in the city where I live, there's no much research going on, and they don't allow high school students to participate in research like in colleges or something like that. So if I wanna join you for your next research, or join generally remotely with anyone, how this opportunity can be done, and what are the requirements to do it, and what's the
Yeah,
process?
that's a very good question. And I think, so just to kind of clarify, currently I work in policy. So I'm no longer working at the bench doing research. I've sort of pivoted into just teaching, working in policy, and doing a lot of outreach. However, I'm still relatively connected to the research community. So I'm always trying to stay on top of opportunities for students, because I like sharing those things with my students. So over the past, maybe what is it now, 4 years is when we sort of had the pandemic. You are probably all aware that lots of things have moved to virtual capacity. So there were not many like in-person things happening. Lots of labs had to pivot to like doing virtual labs, and believe it or not. And so lots of opportunities were created out of that did not exist previously. So I say all that to say there could be opportunities that exist currently for students to do sort of virtual research, although I'm not 100% sure what those are currently. But as the other student who was speaking before you asked if there are opportunities for students to do sort of international, research in these facilities. Would I share them with you? Absolutely, yes. So I have on my list that I will look to see what currently exists, and if I can tap into any of my networks to see if there's anyone, or any opportunities that are out there for students looking to do sort of virtual research internships. And then I will send an email blast out to the mailing list. So again, I do encourage you to scan the QR code. Or if you can't scan the QR code for some reason, send me a message. You can send me an email if it's easier for you, or uh, contact me on social media, send me like a DM or a private message saying, hey, I joined you at MedStem. I want to follow up on that research list. I'm very happy to share any information I have with students. I just want to take some time to really tap in and create something that would be, useful to you all. So I'll try to create some sort of a list that you guys can tap into. And yeah, as information is shared with me, I will continue sharing it with my email, my mailing list. So thank you for the question.
Great.
Thank you for your effort.
Sure.
The next question we'll take is, I see, from Radwa Ahmed.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi there.
hi.
Please, again, I want to say something about a chemistry in subject. Really, for me, it is a difficult subject to study or take information. But sometimes when I make experiments for any information, I get it easily. But not all information I can do experiments. So, can you say to me some channels or websites that I can help that these channels or websites help me to imagine the information like an experiment to help me in studying?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are lots of sort of like supplemental academic websites and resources that are available to students so that they can, because I remember when I taught, I think, one semester of organic chemistry, believe it or not, lab online during the pandemic. And they provided us with lots of like supplemental information. So like if we were doing, let's say, a titration lab or something, there's an actual video because the students are taking the lab at home on the camera on Zoom. And so they technically are not sitting in a lab with me, right, pouring one chemical into the other. So the way that we sort of navigated that was we provided them a link, and usually it was like a YouTube link or something like that, where someone is doing the experiment online and the student can actually see it, write down the values, and create their plots and graphs. So I would say good old YouTube is definitely a good resource. You can type in whatever the technique is, the experiment is, and it will provide you with some good visual resources. Another one that a lot of students like to use is Khan Academy. I know they have lots of videos that break down like really difficult concepts in chemistry, I know for sure, but I'm sure they also break down other disciplines as well. So if you are having trouble, maybe even after you sit in on a lecture or sit through a lab, understanding exactly why you're doing A and B, or why you're taking the numbers down and what you do with the numbers, what does the slope of the line tell me, is it like the kinetic energy, or whatever it is. I know that those videos typically break it down for you a step further. And the good thing about videos is that you can pause and you can rewind and you can replay it as many times as you need to, even if it's a small section, until you finally envision it. And they sometimes even have illustrations while they're talking. So those are two of my top, I would say, resources to share in terms of like visual aids. The other thing I would say is sometimes your own college or university has a lot of supplemental information within their library, or they have like a science or STEM center. Lots of the colleges that I've taught at have STEM centers where they have actual resources for students to supplement the classes that we're teaching. So don't hesitate to reach out in that sense as well.
Okay, excuse me, can you send some of these things in the chat?
So I said I promised to put together a list of resources for everyone. And so I do have a running list right now. I'm not able to like, it's just youtube.com and Khan Academy. I can type that. I don't see my chat block here. It's probably because I'm still sharing my screen. But
Okay.
I absolutely can do that if you want. So I can do that right now. YouTube?
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, no problem. Were there any other questions that you wanted to take, Amon?
Yes, we actually, it's time and we want to be respectful of your time. So we're gonna end the questions here. And if anyone has any further questions, feel free to join Dr. Daniels' waiting list or reach out to her any of the contacts that she has provided. Dr. Daniels, I learned a lot, and I know everyone here probably learned a ton of information about different journeys in STEM. So I thank you so much for joining today. We want to give our amazing speakers a Zoom round of applause. So I will, if everyone can go and react and click the little round of applause button. I think that would be amazing. We really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I know it was really insightful talk. So thank you so much.
Thank you all so very much. I had a great time connecting with you all. I'm happy that it was helpful and hopefully inspiring to you all. And hopefully I get to do this again next year. So thank you for the invitation. And I look forward to connecting with hopefully most of you, even beyond this presentation. So have a good rest of your day.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. I'm going to launch the poll, then hand over the mic to Davina. So give me 1 second while I launch this. Okay, there you go. The poll is launched. And if you're having trouble accessing the poll, please message Rorik on Slack and give him till at least the end of the weekend to respond. All right, Davina, I'll hand over the mic to you.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We'll transition into our workshop shortly. But before we do that, make sure you've answered the poll. Again, as always, if you can't see the poll, please make sure you're messaging Rourke on Slack and he'll get back to you as soon as he can. Again, it'll take him some time just because there are so many students, but just message him if you can't see it right now. And then we're going to be taking our group pictures. So if you wouldn't mind turning your cameras on just for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then you can turn them right back off after if you don't want to keep them on, that's totally fine. I'm going to be taking a group picture. Again, we'll send this picture out to all of you, and then we're going to post it on our socials as well. So as long as you're comfortable with both of those things, then we're all set to go. But I'll give everyone another minute to finish answering the polls, like maybe fix your hair, make sure everything looks good. And then I'll let you know when we're taking the group picture. I'll probably have to take a couple because I don't think everyone's going to fit on my one screen. So yeah, just give us 1 second and then we'll be right with you. Okay, is everyone good to go? Everyone has their cameras on? Okay, I still see a couple people turning them on. So I'll give it like another minute. But hopefully at this point, if you want to partake in our group picture, you have your cameras on.
Sorry, Davina.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple problems with my camera actually. Can I stay turn off?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not required at all to do our it's not required to take a group picture. This is just for fun.
All right. But I over
Yeah.
here like smiling, but you will not see it probably.
No, you're all good. It's just for fun. So this is not required at all. Okay. Okay. I think everyone's all set now. I'm probably gonna have to take a bunch just because I think with everyone's cameras on, it takes up like 3 different screens on Zoom. So bear with me and keep your smiles up for like 30 seconds and then you can go ahead and turn your cameras off. Okay. Everyone good? Hair looks good, everyone? Okay, good. Everyone looks great from what I can see. Okay, give me a smile in 3, 2, 1. Okay, keep those smiles up because I gotta get to everyone. Okay, smile, 3, 2, 1. And then one more. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's it. I got everybody that had their cameras on. So if you want to turn your cameras off, you can. I'll give
Everyone
everyone a
looks
second.
so good.
Yeah, everyone looks fantastic. Yeah, so go ahead. You can turn your cameras off now. And then I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen for our workshop portion of our session today. Okay, so welcome to our very last session for our summer program. Hopefully this is a bittersweet day for you and you enjoyed the program. So you'll be a little bit sad when it ends. I know we're always sad when the program ends because we've had lots of fun and the end kind of approaches really quickly. Like I'm still kind of shocked that we're already done with our 5th summer program. But yes, today is our last session. So this might be the last time that we see you. Okay, so there are a bunch of upcoming forms and deadlines that we have. I've organized this list by what is due first. Not all of the stuff on this list is required. Again, I will be sharing all of these links with you after the session today. So if you don't see any of these links right now, please don't worry. I will be sharing them with you on Slack a couple minutes after the session ends. So next Friday, we have our post-program homework due. This is required if you want to get your certificate for the program in conjunctions with our attendance requirement. What is not required, but you can still do for a volunteer hour, is fill out our guest speaker thank you form. So you just write thank you messages to our guest speakers just to thank them for sharing their experiences, for coming in to talk to us and all of that good stuff. And then once we introduce our research symposium, those forms are that registration form to tell us that you're interested in participating in our research symposium is due next Saturday. So you would fill out that form with the names of everyone in your team or just your name if you're doing it by yourself, and that form is due then. Again, if you need people for a team and you don't already have them, we're going to be helping put participants in groups, so don't worry. We have some other exciting applications due Sunday, August 11th. And then Friday, August 16th, we have our research symposium submissions due. So your project has to be done by Friday, August 16th, because on Saturday, August 17th, that's when our research symposium day is. So it'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time. So it corresponds pretty much with our international program. And that's where we'll essentially have students presenting their research symposium projects and what they've been working on for the past couple weeks in a day-long symposium, and we'll be awarding speaker awards as well. So all of the due dates for everything are here, and I will share all of these links on Slack with you pretty much right after the session is done. We also have some other exciting applications due later in August, so to give you more time to do your research symposium, and then if you want to do these extra things, you can. But again, the only thing on this page that is absolutely required of you if you want to get your program certificate is the very first one, which is our post-program homework that's due Friday, August 2nd. Everything else is optional, and everything else is just something that you can do if you want to do it, but you do not have to. Okay, so now I'll tell you a little bit more about MedStem Powered. So happy 4th birthday to MedStem Powered. When the summer program was created in 2020, We started off with about 200 participants, and now we've kind of grown into this community of over 5,000 students, which is really crazy. And we've done 5 summer programs and 3 winter camps so far. This is also a list of all of the stuff that we've done over the past couple years, and I won't read it all out to you, but you can feel free to read it on your own time as well. But we've hosted all of these programs. We used to host these departments where students could create resources in medicine and in healthcare. We hosted a college application series, and then we also hosted a mentorship program that served over 100 students. So to tell you a little bit more about our team here, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on our amazing team that made this summer program possible and always continue to make our summer programs possible year after year. So Ahmad, who's our lovely executive director, who you've seen lots throughout our program sessions, he actually created and launched the idea for us to have an international program. It was a fantastic idea, and our international program has been quite the success over the past couple of years. So thank you, Ahmad, for creating this awesome opportunity for students that are international to get the hands-on experience, to connect with other students that are also international, and also to hear from guest speakers that are international as well. We have Thanuja, who's our director. She's also amazing. She helped create our case study competition a few years back, and then she also is helping create our research symposium prompt this year, so she's also fantastic. And then we have Jonathan, who's one of our directors. He's helping launch our mentorship program this year along with Elijah. And we're very excited about that. And Jonathan is going to share some updates with you as well. And he's awesome. And then we also have Rourke. So Rourke is who all of you have been messaging if you've had questions about polls, and he's been organizing everything about attendance. So huge shout out to Rourke for doing all of that. But this is our team here. And I'd also like to note that Thanuja, Jonathan, and Rourke all started out as executive interns, and they just did such a great job that we had to hire them full time. So now we'll be talking to you about our open positions in our mentorship program. So this is our surprise announcement that I mentioned on Wednesday. So we have our mentorship program, we have our global health initiative that Ahmad is running, and then the other exciting announcement is that we are hiring for a few executive interns, and that's the application that's due August 11th. So let me see if Jonathan is here, and I think he is. So Jonathan, do you want to tell us all a little bit about the mentorship program and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, guys, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. So essentially, well, first I just want to point out August 1st, we changed that to August 25th, so uh, don't worry about that. But basically what a BSMD is a direct admissions into a medical school, right? So straight out of high school, you apply, and if you are granted admission, you do your undergrad, so 4 years of a chemistry degree or a biology degree, whatever you decide, and then after that, medical school. So with this sort of program, there's a few advantages. So number one, you already know that you're going to medical school and it would be in the United States. And then on top of that, it would also grant you admission um, without having to take certain tests. So if you're admitted into a program like the BSMD, especially our mentorship program, we would like to offer you much support. So for instance, like essay support, interview support, whatever would help you stand out and get into a program like this. So we do have the application form. Davina, do you know if you have it on deck to send it in the chat?
I don't have it on deck right now, but I have it in like a big blurb that I'm going to send out right after the session. So everyone will have it like a few minutes after the session ends.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, does anybody have any questions about what a mentorship program would look like? I can take questions, just unmute yourself and
What exactly the requirements that should be in me to apply for this internship?
Yeah, so for the mentorship program, it would kind of just be like certain test scores and stuff like that, grades. So We want to see that you're a good student. So your transcripts, whatever your grades look like, um, certain test scores. We personally, I mean, here in the United States, we take the SAT. If you don't have the SAT, that's fine. We can try to see how we could, get you that test and how we could help you study for that. But, I would still encourage you to apply. But we are looking for good grades, really good extracurriculars, and then an interest in medicine. So whether it's shadowing doctors, doing a program like M.D.s Empowered, and then other, I see all the chats. Like I see a bunch of opportunities that you guys send in. So just we want to see that you have a commitment to medicine, good grades, and just a willingness to apply.
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask another question, please?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask if I'm volunteering for a hospital in my country, would it help in my application form or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely 1000%. I mean,
Okay, thank you.
that's exactly what like the SMD programs are looking for. So because you're still a high schooler, they know that you're not going to be doing everything under the sun, right? So just having something that shows that you have a commitment to medicine and like you're not just applying to apply, right? Like you have a purpose to actually do medicine. So that's what they're trying to find. And again, they know you're high schooler, so they know, you're not going to be the president of your country or whatever, right? So they're just looking for smaller steps in medicine that would help you really just get into medical school and be in the correct environment for you.
Please, I have a question. Can you tell us about the fees? Is
No,
it
no
paid?
fees. It's all free. It's all free. Yeah, that's the whole point of this because a lot of different programs, especially when they do a mentorship, I've looked at it. It costs around like $5,000. So we were like, we're not going to charge anybody $5,000. This is completely free, and we want you guys to take care of or take this opportunity.
Thank you a lot.
Anybody else?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah. Is this mentorship program for high schoolers?
Yeah. So it's for high schoolers since BSMDs, when you apply, you're coming straight out of high school. So, we wanted to have this program for high schoolers who are going to be applying not only to colleges, but also medical schools.
Okay, perfect. I think that's all the time we have for questions, but I do have the application here. So it's not due till the end of August, but I'm gonna throw it up in the chat right now, just in case anybody wants to save the link early. But yes, thank you so much, Jonathan, for answering people's questions. And if you have more questions, you can reach out to Jonathan or Elijah on Slack, and they'll be happy to answer those questions for you. All right, beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna go back into sharing my screen. But up next, we actually are going to be talking about our global health initiative at M.D.s Empowered.
Yes,
which
hello everyone.
M.D.s is going to talk about.
Yeah, so I am very excited to. So again, we're launching a lot of programs. So if this is becoming a little overwhelming, feel free to just ask us questions and check out all the links that have that Davina just sent has a lot more information on all of this. So yeah, so we're launching our global health initiative, and I know when we were talking about when we had our public health lecture about 2 Wednesdays ago, we were talking through different ways that we can make impact in health and how to be involved in healthcare, you don't have to have a medical degree or have a master's or anything. You can make impact even in your own community. So the whole purpose of this program is to provide you the resources, support to help you launch your own health initiatives in your community. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So again, this program consists of research, mentorship, you working on creating community-driven projects, all to advance public health. So kind of the first parts of the program will be you identifying gaps within the public health infrastructure in your community and work on creating solutions. And solutions can be various, and they don't have to be the same for every program that every participant that is wanting to join the program. But for this program, you can go to the next slide. We'll talk more about the specific details. So applications will be launched on Slack on August 1st. You'll have until August 25th to apply with detailing the initiative that you want to launch, as well as kind of answering, kind of analyzing why you want to launch it in the first place. So we'll have some questions around, analyzing your own community health and seeing why the program that you want to launch or the initiative or workshops that you want to launch would be beneficial in your community. A lot of this program is going to be you working in your own community. So it's taking the resources we'll provide you, and taking it to your own communities. So we can talk about if you want to make it somehow virtual, but the whole goal is for you to do it within your own community that you live within. So once you've been accepted to the program, we'll take a handful of applications for the first cohort, which is going to be between September and January. You'll have opportunity to engage in more lecture series. I know we had a 1 hour lecture on public health 2 weeks ago. We'll have a much more in-depth lectures on them whenever you're accepted into the program, so you can learn more about public health, global health, and how they all relate to medicine. And then you'll launch a project, and then once you've launched your project and completed it or made significant progress, you'll reflect. And after you reflected, you'll be eligible for volunteer hours, leadership awards, and you'll also have the opportunity to receive awards from our organization, all which will be very beneficial for you. So the next slide, I think, talks through some of the example projects that we thought through that you could possibly launch. So could be something around maternal mortality education kits. You can launch a mental health peer support group in your community if mental health is a topic that's stigmatized with your own community. You can organize a blood drive or test for heart health biomarkers, or provide resources for individuals in your community to get tested in heart health biomarkers. You could, do a local education campaign to reduce the HIV/AIDS stigma. You could also, work within your own local community to create workshops in your school district for girls interested in entering STEM fields. So it's a wide variety of different projects that you can engage in, but that's kind of the big overview of the project. I know there'll probably be a ton of questions, so I'll stick around after today's meeting if you have any questions. But yeah, that is the program, and we're really excited to launch. The application has not been launched for this yet. We're going to launch it by, I believe I said July 25th, not 25th, 28th. One of the days. I did not. One second. The applications will be launched on August 1st. Yes, August 1st is when they will launch. So yeah, if you have any questions before then about the program, feel free to reach out to me and I can definitely help. So yeah. I can take, Divine, is it okay if we keep questions then so we can, kind of get through this presentation?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Okay, I see a bunch of people with the hands raised. We will get to you as soon as this workshop is done, okay? All right, so we've shown you a couple of the new initiatives that we're going to be starting up here at Medicine Empowered. So if you're interested in getting involved with those, please stay posted for all of the information we're going to be sharing about all of those things and all of the Google links we're going to be sharing. The update that I wanted to share is that we're going to be hiring for 2 to 3 executive interns. So for those of you that don't know, almost all of our leadership team members that have been helping run our program actually started out as executive interns and then were offered full-time positions. So applications for executive interns are due August 11th, and I actually have the link here. So I'll put it in the chat if you're interested in applying. It's not due for a little bit, so you don't have to fill it out right now, but if you want to check out the application, you can. So essentially what our executive interns will do is they'll work directly with our core leadership team, and they're going to help us run our future summer programs and even start up their own initiatives at MD.s Empowered. So our entire summer program and our organization here was started by an idea that I had in 2020 amidst the pandemic to create a virtual program because a lot of universities weren't offering in-person pre-med summer programs. So I had the idea to create an entirely virtual summer program. And so everything that we have here today came from that idea and the hard work of a lot of people to help make that happen. So we want to help you make your ideas happen. So if you're passionate about anything, but you just need a little bit of help, I would encourage you to apply for our executive internship as well, or our global health initiative, either one of those, and kind of help your ideas become a reality. We do expect applications to be kind of competitive because we're only hiring for 2 or max 3 positions. So please make sure you put as much effort into your application as possible. And then we will essentially we'll send you an email if we're offering you an interview, and then we'll go from there. If you're hired, it'll be at least for a couple months with the possibility of being hired full time. Someone asks if it's paid or unpaid. It is unpaid. So all the positions we have here are unpaid, but you do get volunteer hours for everything. So if you keep track of them, we'll sign off on the volunteer hours for you. But yes, it's really exciting. And we hope to see you apply to join our team here, because I know a lot of you have been excited about joining our team at M.D.s Empowered. So hopefully now you know that there are a lot of different exciting ways to get involved. Okay, so now I want to talk to you a little bit about maximizing your program experience. So taking what you've done here and using this experience to the best of your ability to help you get your foot in the door to get other opportunities. So this is what our certificates looked like a couple of years ago. We changed the design every year, but this is what your certificate will look like. It'll have your name on it, it'll have our names on it, and it'll certify that you completed the program and that you got shadowing hours. These will all be emailed out to you at the end of the program. It's going to take us some time to process everybody's attendance and then all of our accessibility accommodations. So you got to be patient with us, but we'll definitely have those sent out to you at some point soon. But it'll take us some time because we have to get our homework submissions in first. Then we have to calculate everyone's eligibility. We're only going to see if you're eligible for your certificate if you fill out the homework assignment. So if you don't fill out the homework assignment, we won't be checking your attendance even to see if you're eligible because the homework is required for your certificate. So I will actually post the homework link now, and I'll also post the guest speaker form as well. So I'm dropping both of those links in the chat right now. I'm just gonna put both the post-program homework form and the guest speaker thank you form. Only the first one is required. So please take some time to fill that out. You do have to hit the word counts. It's going to take you a little bit of time, not too long to finish the homework, but it'll take you some time. So please put some good effort into that, because if you don't put in good effort, we don't give you credit for completing the homework. And all of these links are going to be provided in Slack as well, with all of the deadlines associated with them. So no worries if you're missing it right now. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was adding this experience to your LinkedIn. So I saw a lot of you sharing your LinkedIn profiles on Slack, which is great. I love that people are getting connected. We want you to use this experience to get connected with other people in the program and other professionals in the field. So even if you don't have LinkedIn yet, it would be a great idea for you to potentially create a LinkedIn profile. I like to think of LinkedIn as like a business Instagram. So instead of sharing like pictures of like your vacation, you share updates about your work life, or where you're going to school, or what, exams you've taken and what scores you got, or stuff like that. So it's a platform for networking. Like I mentioned, it lets you showcase all these really good experiences, and then you can create an account. It's super easy. It's free. It allows you to connect with people. So this is what your LinkedIn homepage might look like. So it has your profile here on the left. It has other people's posts in the middle, and then you can kind of click around and explore the platform on your own as well. So if you want to add this experience to your own personal LinkedIn, you can click on your personal profile and then scroll down to this experience section. So we've walked you through the whole process here in this slideshow of adding this experience to your LinkedIn. Then you scroll down to the experience section, you hit the plus button, and then we've actually filled out all of these blanks for you as well. This is from 2021, so you want to make sure you're updating it with accurate information. But you can add an experience as being a participant in our summer program. We have a company called M.D.s Empowered, so that's the company you can list it under. You can add your start and end date. And then you can add a description as well. So other people that might look at your profile, if they're wondering what the summer program is or what you did, you can add this description to kind of add more authenticity. So we have pre-written a description for you here. You don't, of course, have to use it. You can write your own. But the description essentially just lets people know that you were a selected participant of our summer program. You learned from a bunch of different professionals. You participated in workshops, and you were able to collaborate with people in our program cohorts. And of course, the sizes change every year. So we put little blanks there for you to fill in that information based on what the numbers are this year. Someone asked, was this program founded in Massachusetts University or Boston University? So I've actually gotten a couple of questions from people asking what university we're affiliated with. We are not affiliated with any company, any university, anything. We run this entirely on our own. This entire thing here is student run, so we're not associated with any university. You can also feel free to upload a PDF of your program certificate once we send those out. If you got a debate award, we'll be sending those out to you as well. If you got an award for your research symposium, you can upload those things as well, which will add to your profile. You can add it in a couple different ways. If you took notes for us, if you provide translation services, we had a lot of awesome volunteers this year providing translation services for us. So thank you to everyone that provided translation services, because we were able to get our workshops and our sessions translated because of our awesome student volunteers. So thank you so much for doing that. If you did that, you can add it under volunteer experience. You can also add skills and endorsements. So you can add STEM, medicine, collaboration, leadership. And then you can also add any honor or awards that you get. So you got a debate award, and later on, if you end up getting a research symposium award, you can add this in your accomplishments section. And then the organization is M.D.s empowered. You can also post about this on LinkedIn. So on the left, we actually have a sample post from someone who did our program in 2020, and they uploaded their certificate and they posted about their experience and how it was a great opportunity for them to learn even when they couldn't leave their homes. So you can post about this on LinkedIn as well. And then I created a sample post for people in case you wanted an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so now for adding this experience to your college apps or your jobs or for any resumes that you might need to apply to positions later on, we have some steps here. Talk about the experience during an interview if you got something out of it. Talk about how you're going to apply these skills in real life. Talk about how you learned from the virtual shadowing, how you participated in the workshops. Really list this experience and use it to your benefit. You can use this on your college apps. You can use this on job interviews. You can use this on your resume or your CV. And if you need us to write you a letter of recommendation, we typically don't. We will do this, but we don't encourage you to email us if you need letters of recommendation for medical school, only because your letters of reference for medical school should be people that know you really well and have worked with you over the past couple years and can really write you an amazing application. We say this because we want you to get in, but we would typically not encourage you to ask us to write you a letter of recommendation for medical school just because there are so many participants. So I don't think we'd be able to write you the best letter possible. But if you need a volunteer letter or a letter of recommendation for a job or a club position or an internship, or if you need us to sign off on your volunteer hours, you can email us for that and we'll be more than happy to help you out. We would try to get to all of these requests within the month of August and September because then things get really busy. So anything after that, we might not be able to get to. But other than that, it's all good. And then I just wanted to say from us to you, thank you. This program wouldn't be possible without all of our students here that come and participate year after year. And so we wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming. And then I wanted to give a special shout out to my grandma. So I know that none of you really know my grandma, but she actually faithfully watches all of our program sessions on YouTube. I didn't even actually tell her that the program had started this year, but she told me that she'd already watched the first session on YouTube because she's subscribed and she has notifications turned on. So thank you to my grandmother for being M.D.s Power's biggest fan. She watches all of the sessions on YouTube. She watches the international program and the national program. She rocks. And so I just wanted to say thank you to my grandma for all of her support. And then again, thank you so much for being here. We're really grateful that you've chosen to spend part of your time here with us, and we hope you've enjoyed your experience. We really, really, we appreciate you spending your time here with us, and we're so grateful that you've chosen to take part in our program because, like we said, we can host a program, but it doesn't work unless you come here and you have a good experience, and we hope that both of those things have been true, and we can't wait to see what you're going to do in the medical fields. Please keep in touch with us because we love seeing when participants that have come through our program get accepted into their dream school or they start a new job that they're really excited about. So please stay in touch and we would love to hear about what's happening in your life. We're here to support you. We're here to make your dreams happen or help you, give you a nudge in the right direction. So thank you so much for being here. And that is the end of my workshop here, Ahmad, we can launch the poll right now for the second part of attendance, if that sounds good.
Yes, give me 1 second. If you want to take a couple questions and then we'll
Yeah.
launch it.
Absolutely. Okay. So I see that some people have their hands raised. So I'm gonna take a couple questions from people having their hand raised, and then I will see if I have any questions in the chat. Okay, Dina?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask something about the mentorship. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so in Egypt, we don't really have the exam of SAT and East or the EST and things like that. So,
Mhm.
what should I put in this form for the
You can put
exams?
like not applicable or I live in Egypt and we don't have these exams. Anything like that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Noha, did you have a question?
Yes, if I have missed only one session, must I have summarized it or not?
If you only missed one session, you don't have to summarize it. We give you an excuse or a pass for one session every program. So if you've just missed one, you don't have to do anything.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Okay, Reem?
Yes, actually, I hadn't attended the last 2 sessions, so I'm asking about if I had summarized it after this session and sent it, is there gonna be any problem?
There won't be any problem. That's totally fine. We ask just generally that you get your summaries in by the middle of next week and no later. So you should be all good.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry,
Okay.
one more question.
Yep.
What I have understood that this mentorship is mainly concerned about learning, teaching high school students about how to be applicable to apply on the medical schools in USA. Is that right?
Yeah, it's mostly for applying to medical schools in the US and Canada, but if you're interested in a more international mentorship program, we'll definitely take that feedback and try to launch something like that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I'm gonna take one more question, then we'll launch our poll for today. So, Hannah?
My question is about the mentorship. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Mentorship program I have never done يعني any extracurriculum related to medicine but I have done extracurriculum related to STEM like programming and coding like I have taken courses before does that count if I put it in the form I have never done anything related to medicine like I never done shadowing except for this program or volunteering hours related to medicine so will this affect my possibility of being accepted for the mentorship program?
Think so. I think just apply with whatever experience you have, and then it's our goal to try to help you. So I think you should be fine.
And about the exams of the SATs, we don't have it where I live in Egypt, so it will be okay, or should I take it and apply for it?
Yeah. So yeah, you can just make a note that you don't have those exams there, and then you'll be all set.
Okay, thank you very much for this program. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, I think Ahmad has the poll ready, so feel free to launch that. You can answer the poll. If you have to head out after you answer the poll, that's totally okay. If you have any questions, we're going to stick around and answer as many questions as we possibly can. But if you head out after you answer the poll, thank you so much again on behalf of all of our amazing team members here. Thank you so much for coming to our summer program this year. We hope that isn't the last that we see of you. And yeah, we'll see you later. I forgot that I haven't sent out our research symposium document this year. So for those of you that don't know, our research symposium is essentially like a 3-week long project where students can create their own solutions to problems in medicine and STEM. So if you click on the document I just sent out, we detail a couple of different problems that are facing our world today and how we can potentially develop ways to create a solution. So your job in the research symposium is to create a solution. You make it as well detailed as possible. Students end up submitting things like slideshows or a Google document. And then it culminates in a one-day research symposium where everyone presents their ideas. So we would actually highly encourage you to take part in our research symposium because we do offer awards. It's a great experience. We'll be providing mentorship to you if you want that. So definitely feel free to participate. And yes, all of these links are going to be sent in Slack after the meeting because I know it's kind of hard to keep track in Zoom. So don't worry if you've missed anything. We're going to send everything out in Slack right after the session is done.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes, I see that a bunch of people have their hands raised. So I will go to people that have their hands raised now. Ayat, do you have a question?
Hi, yes, I do. I have a question. Just before, I wanted to thank you for launching this spectacular program. I really learned a lot of information that I thought I wouldn't be interested in it, but I discovered that I have passion for another thing in medicine. And thank you so much for launching this program. My question is that when you started talking about summarizing lessons, I accidentally left because my iPad died. So, and I saw in the chat there is some student mentioning that we have to summarize something. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
it is.
it's only if you miss an entire session. So for students that have
Oh,
other things
okay.
come up, then you just summarize it. But if you just like get kicked out for a second, that's totally okay.
Ah, okay, fine. And for the session that took place in Wednesday, I actually missed I don't know how much poll it was, but I only answered one poll, and I didn't receive the first one, and I contact you, but nobody actually have answered me.
Yeah, it'll take us a couple of days to get back to you. I know Rourke is at a conference right now, and then he's also got a ton of requests for polls. So just send him a message, and if he hasn't responded by like Saturday, then you
Mhm.
can send him a follow-up. But yeah, it'll just take up some time. Honestly, the most important thing about messaging work is that you message him on time. It's okay if it takes us a little bit to respond to you. As long as you message us, we'll be all set.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries. Okay, Mahmuda?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Firstly, I think I texted about I'm from Bangladesh and my Wi-Fi being cut off for like 5 days. So like you said that it's okay, but am I still eligible for the certificate? Like I know it's my excuse is like valid, right? Because it's like my country is fully like shut off from the world. So like, is there
Yeah,
anything I can do?
no, you'll be excused from all of the sessions that you missed because of the Wi-Fi being cut out in your country. Just make sure you message Rourke and explain a little bit about like your situation, and then you'll be okay. Just so we know to excuse you from that when we process attendance.
Yeah, I did text him, but he did not reply.
That's okay. Yeah, you'll be good.
And one thing, what can you like explain the internship program again? My Wi-Fi was cut off, so like I came a bit late.
So
This internship,
the executive
yeah,
internship.
yeah, the one you discussed a bit ago, like in the slideshow.
Okay, yeah. So the executive internship, and I'm also seeing in the chat people having to go. Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for your kind words and feel free to head out. So our executive internship is essentially a leadership team position that we offer to you where you're allowed to where you get the chance to work with our team here to help run our summer programs and help launch your own ideas in medicine and STEM as well. So we would encourage you to apply if you're interested in a leadership position, not even just interested in the position, but interested in, kind of taking charge of your own project and taking charge of your own idea and making it happen. And we're here to help you. So we would encourage you to apply if you're interested in that. And we want our applications to be thorough, which is why we give people a couple weeks to fill out the form.
So like, what are the requirements for like joining this? Will it be
There
given in
are
the form?
So in the form, as you can see, there aren't any requirements. Honestly, the most important part of the application is your ideas for us. Really flesh out your ideas. We won't hire anybody just because they have good experience, but not good ideas for what they want to do here. If you have an idea for what you want to do here, talk about it, flesh it out. Walk us through every step, how you want to start your idea, where you got the idea from, what you want it to look like. Really talk about that because that's the most important question in the application.
So the application form will be given in Slack after this session.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna move on to Hannah now.
Yes. I was wondering, I volunteered in translating. Also, I got raised for the debate. So will I get certificate for these things or not?
You will get a separate certificate for the debate. We don't do volunteer certificates, but if you ever use the volunteer hours for your school and you need us to sign off on them, we'll sign off on them for you. So it's more like you keep track of them, and then if you need our help, we'll sign off of them for you.
Yes, thank you for making it clear.
Yep, no worries. Okay, Marella.
Hello.
Hi.
I want to ask what is optional and what is obligation to have the certificate.
So you need to have attended at least 4 sessions live, and you have to complete the program homework.
What is the program homework?
It's a Google form that I released in the chat, and I'll also send out on Slack after this as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yasmin?
I'm still confused about the homework and how we will do it, and we will send it on Slack or on the Gmail. I still confused about it.
Okay, if you look in the chat right now, I'm resending the post-program homework. It's just a Google form that you have to fill out. So you just fill out the Google form and then you're all set. Make sure you put some good effort into it, but that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then Yasmin Mohammed.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about what I should summarize the sessions. Did I summarize the presentation, or I should I summarize the episode or the workshop with the speakers?
The whole thing. So the guest speaker and the workshop.
Not the presentation?
Yeah, so the workshop is a presentation.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, Noor Ahmed.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh yeah. About the I have 2 questions. First one about the homework. When is the deadline for it?
The deadline for the homework is next Friday.
Okay. And I was a bit confused about the research. Like, we are going to fill in the form. Then when are we going to start our research?
So you fill out the registration form, and then at any point you can start. Like you could even start working on your projects today. We just give you time if you need to find people in a team, if you want to work collaboratively. But you can do it, you can really start it whenever.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Dina?
Yeah, okay, so I really wanted to ask a question. Can I use an AI, not for my application, but to help me, like, I could tell him the words and he could, like, organize it to me, or that's not acceptable?
Yeah, you can use AI to help you organize things, just not to generate
Yeah,
any ideas. Yeah, so that's fine.
the thing that okay, thank you so much.
Yep. Malak Ahmed, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. First, I love you so much, and I appreciate your work with us. If I'm not interested in the medical field, but I'm interested in bioinformatics, which is a combination between technology and medicine, is that okay to be in your program and the other things?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're interested solely in science or solely in medicine, we try to provide a program that gives you an opportunity to learn about your interests in both of those fields separately and together. So me personally, I'm not pursuing a career in healthcare either. I'm interested just in neuroscience and the neuroscience of disease. So I'm totally with you on that. So we would encourage you to be here essentially.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
But
no
you
worries.
offer Something like that, like a combination between technology and medicine. For example, like bioinformatics.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. I see other people have their hands up. Allie? Allie Fung? Okay, I'll go to Fatima then.
Hello. Like
Hi.
if I attended the sessions, like some sessions without my full name, would that affect my attendance? Without the full name that I applied with?
It depends. Did you join with like at least a first and a last name?
Like my first name. Some sessions I remembered and put my full name, but like some sessions I forgot and joined with my first name.
Just send a message to Rourke to let him know that you joined some sessions without your full name, just so we can catch it earlier.
And
Okay.
another question about the research symposium. And if we join in a group, how many members should be in the group?
It's a maximum
Like
of
a
10.
minimum or maximum?
Yeah, it's a maximum of 10, minimum of 1 because you can work by yourself. We don't recommend that you have 10 people in your group because in the 2 or 3 years, I think 3 years that we've been running the symposium, we haven't yet seen a group of 10 submit a project. We typically see that the more successful groups have members between like 4, maximum 6.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Is, do you have a question?
Yeah,
IZZ?
I have a question.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you that, like you said, you would excuse us for missing one session, but what will be the procedure if we missed one session and joined another one late due to like electricity issues? Like, do I need to submit a summary for that, or is that okay?
Oh no, that's totally fine. If you missed a session and you were supposed to attend the one in the morning, but you attended the one in the evening to make up for it, that's totally fine. You wouldn't be counted as absent. We have a specific section on the homework form that asks you to tell us which program you attended for each session, so we keep track of it.
But no, but I didn't attend, like, I missed one session, and in the other session, I attended it a little bit late, but I attended that same session. However, like, do I still submit a summary for that for joining late, or do I just like pass it off?
No, I think you should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Rauda? Okay,
Actually, could I say something?
Sure.
Did you all finish? Could I leave tomorrow? Could I leave now?
Yep, you can leave.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, I have submitted the 2 polls.
Yep, I can hear you.
I'm sorry for
Okay.
I'm sorry
No
for
worries. I'm sorry. Really.
Sorry?
I'm sorry for
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of people speaking at once. I think Hums, you had your hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hums.
wanted to ask mandatory homework. Are we allowed to have like a mentorship? Like, can we ask for like a mentor or someone to help guide us through this, or do we have to do it completely independently?
We ask that you write all of your questions independently, but if you need to post a question in any of the channels or like message a friend to collaborate on an answer, that's okay, but you should be able to fill it out on your own.
Right. And another thing is that like I'm not ready to discuss this like in a public setting like this, but I do have a few like issues that could meet me with my research and stuff. So I who do I contact about this? Like I do have some things that would like get in my way of like doing the research like, in the best way possible. So like who do I talk to about this? Because like I want to know like what's could possibly help me through this, you know? Like I for example I have problems with hearing and I don't really know like, what topics I start with and how it should be done to begin with because I've never done something like this before. And yeah, things like this. So
You message me on Slack and we can talk about this more.
Okay, thank you so much. And I want to say again, thank you so much for this program. It was truly a light in the dark, and it really means a lot to me. And I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you so much, and glad you enjoyed it. Okay, next hand is Abdul Rahim Idris.
Hey, I wanted to tell you thank you so much for this opportunity. Like I sincerely appreciate. And I have two questions to ask. Firstly, you said something about letter of recommendation. So when you said it, like my network break, so I wasn't able to hear what you said very well. I just want to ask if like an international student like me want to apply to colleges in the United States, can I like email you to get like a letter of recommendation or what?
Yes, you can email us for letters of recommendation for college. Make sure you've reached out to people that have known you for longer and can write you a better letter first. But if you can't get those people, then we'll help you out.
Okay, thank you. Then
Yeah.
my second question.
Oh, yeah. What was your second question?
So my second question is during all these sections, I think about three of them I did not use my full name. I recently changed it now. I thought maybe it was my full name that I was using. So I want to ask if it's going to affect me or not.
You should be okay, but just send a message to Rourke to let him know that sometimes you didn't join with your full name. And let him know what name you
Okay,
did.
thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate. Bye bye. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you so much. You too.
Hello, sorry for interrupting, but I didn't get the second poll. What should I do?
You should message Rourke on Slack.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Haneen?
Hello,
Yeah, hi.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much for your work with us, and I'm so glad to work with you. Um, just
Oh, I think you got muted.
hi.
Hi.
I don't want to ask you anything, but I want to tell you thank you for much so much.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words and happy you enjoyed it.
Can I leave?
Yep, you can leave. Okay, Ali, did you have a question?
Yes, I think you called on me just now, but I just skipped it. So sorry about that. But I
No
just
worries.
would like to ask for the volunteer hours because for my region, which is Hong Kong, we can't just immediately sign it off in order to log in an hour. I think I do have to receive a certificate on that. Would you guys be able to provide that?
Yeah, in those specific instances, we can.
Oh, sure. Do I just message you guys regarding this later on?
Yeah, you should email us because that's where we process all of our certificate requests. So just email us at info@medstempower.org.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Okay, I'm gonna take a question from Yasmin and then Rauda, and then we'll wrap up for today.
Hello, Deviana. I wanted to, hello, Deviana.
Hi.
Do you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I wanted to ask how I should do to receive my certificate. I attended 6 out of 6 from the sessions, and is it summarizing how I should submit my summarizing for the workshop and speakers?
Yeah, so all you have to do is you just have to submit the homework. You've attended all the sessions, and then we'll do the rest. We'll email the certificate out to you with the email that you used to register for the program.
Okay, the two rules to receive my certificate, the attendance and the research form. Okay, is it
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Deviana. Can I leave now?
Yep, you can leave.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Rauda?
Hello?
Hi.
First, I want to thank you for about what you do, you and Ahmed and all the team members. Really, I wanted to ask two questions. The first that I missed only one session, but I wanted to make an homework. So, what is homework that's required, not required?
So the only thing that's required is the post-program homework form. All the other links are optional.
Okay, which channel on the Slack that I can get the presentations, all meetings, the sessions?
They're all on our program website, which is a Notion website, which we've sent out a couple times.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I'll take a question from Mona and then we'll wrap up.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to really thank you all for your effort with us and your help. And the facts are that I had a lot of fun with you, and it was a pleasure to get to know all of you. And thank you so much. Really, I love you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind words and happy you enjoyed the program.
Okay, can I leave now? Thank you.
Yeah, you can leave.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Yusuf, you have your hand up?
Yes, please, I have a question.
Yep.
For the second poll, my internet wasn't stable, so I get out, and when I entered, it doesn't appear again to me. So what shall I do?
You can just message Rourke on Slack that you didn't see it. Just message him now.
Message whom?
Rourke Baker. If you check
In
our
which group?
if you can send him a direct message. If you read through our messages on the announcements channel, we've tagged him a couple times as the point person if you ever miss a poll. So you can just click on that and message him from there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I think that's it for questions from people. And then if you have other questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to us on Slack. Send us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much again for coming to our summer program. I know Ahmad and I have loved hosting the program, especially Ahmad, who created the international program that you're at right now. So thank you so much for being here with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we will hopefully see you again sometime soon. But if not, best of luck with everything you do in the future. We're rooting for you and we'll see you later. Bye, everyone.